a story in every bottle.
We're live again.
We're missing Ken.
We're missing Ken. He's here. He's really here. You can't see him. Hello again. Monday night. Welcome to our Monday Night Live. I want to first start by apologizing for those of you who showed up to our Monday Live last week. We had all the intentions and plans to be here with you. We made a very careful plan to position ourselves on our camping trip within literally a few hundred yards from a cell tower in the vicinity of Littleton, where we knew we could get a good signal.
Yeah, you knew, huh?
Yeah, we did. Driving to the campsite, I looked at my phone and it said we had 5G, so I was all excited. But as things are, we got to the campsite and we had no signal whatsoever. So we apologize. We really wanted to sit around the campfire and have some camp stories with you, but we'll do that again. We promise. Yeah, we'll figure that out one way or the other. But nonetheless, we're here today, and thank you for joining us. For those of you who are here for the first time, we'd love it if you'd let us know, if you could put your name in the comments and say hello. And for those of you who've been up, there's Ken.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
For those of you who have been with us before, you know the drill. Please make yourself known and let us know what you're drinking if you brought something to the show. Let us know what you're having at home. If you are new to the show, we'd love it if you subscribe. Underneath Ken on YouTube is a subscribe button. If you subscribe there, or there's a little bell that allows you to subscribe to our Facebook channel. If you subscribe, you'll get notified every time we go live. And we usually are live Mondays at 5:30, but oftentimes we will go live. What's that?
Pending technical difficulties.
Pending technical difficulties.
What happened last week?
We just talked about that.
You did?
They were
Yeah.
adventuring.
We shared the unfortunate miscalculation of the cell
Of the
tower
cell
that was
tower?
on the other side of the mountain. But
But
anyway,
sometimes you go live when it's not Monday at 5:30.
exactly. So if you subscribe, you'll get a little
That's
bell
right.
or a notice when we're going live. And we have been live from parts all over the world, and so you never know. So it'd be fun to have you on the team and join our shows whenever we do. However, we're here tonight, and we're here to talk about a bunch of different topics.
Beer.
Starting with beer, yes. What are we drinking?
Cheers.
We're drinking, cheers. We're drinking, as you can see,
Oh,
Stoneface.
Oh, you got a match. I got a can. Okay. Are we can or glass?
can, yeah, we're gonna,
Cheers.
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 And cheers to our audience, of course.
All of these beers are from Stoneface, and we're gonna get into that in just a second. And then we have some really exciting news to share with you about a recent invitation that we got to a very prestigious event down in Maryland. We'll talk about that, and then we're going to talk about these wines that are in front of us and the challenges of transporting
Look at the label on the
wine.
back of that.
I know, it's wrecked. That's a very sad story.
That wine has been on a journey.
It's been on a journey.
So stick with us, and we'll tell you about that journey, and we're going to talk about the various ways in which one should transport wine and the things you need to consider before transporting wine in all different types of circumstances. So that'll come toward the end of the show. But let's start with, I have to say, I'm a little jealous. Are you a little jealous?
They keep going on these
What, that I got to
adventures.
just go and hang out at Stoneface for hours today?
And
And to call that work?
Ben got
Yeah,
to
that was
drive
tough.
down to Stoneface and hang out for a couple hours, probably had a couple beers.
Oh, yeah.
Got to hang out in the brewery with the brewmaster.
We got to sample off some of their full clip right out of the centrifuge where it's injected with CO2 on its way to the canning line.
That's a
and pull
brand
off
new
a pint.
beer.
Yeah, brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah. Going right to their bright tanks at the other end of the building.
So,
And
so what are we drinking? I'm drinking this is a new beer to me. I've had their
Full Clip.
Full Clip, which
Right.
is a standard IPA,
which is one of their top sellers.
and because it's delicious,
they,
I drink it often.
they
And
package 60 barrels a day.
that's a lot of beer.
That's a lot.
I don't even think I could keep up
beer.
with that.
No, you couldn't even keep up with that.
So I'm drinking Double Clip. This is brand new, or have they had this before?
I don't know. He's got, as far as I know, when we came up with our concept of an imperial session as a joke, he says, "Oh no."
This is a Double Clip, and it's 60 IBUs. It's a 7.8% alcohol by volume, which could be dangerous as the
double
show wears
IPA.
on and I finish this beer. But it is delicious, I assure you. So that's the one I'm drinking right there. What are you drinking, Ken?
I am drinking their Vienna lager. It's called Pow.
Can I taste it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like lagers, especially, well, I like them all the time, but I like them in the summertime.
Can you pass that up?
And
Ooh, that's nice.
he
too.
has been, Dan, the head brewer there, has been brewing this Vienna-style lager for many years. And he said this particular batch just turned out really, really great.
It's delicious.
So-
It's spot on.
So
There's
I
nothing
have-
wrong with
spot
it.
on.
So I just have I had the
you
Czech
say you
style.
just-
lager.
So I had that on,
No.
both Ben and I had that on,
Well, initially I thought
on
it
draft.
says, it just says lager here, so I wasn't sure. But down
Right.
here it says Czech style lager.
Right, that's what they do.
The
This
old
just
boy.
says lager,
Yep.
and then they have the details down
Yep.
below.
Also very delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that on draft. It's I mean, it's just spot on.
We have a
beer.
live studio audience. Sorry to
Stoneface.
interrupt, but I just got a comment.
Hello.
Yes,
Hi, live studio
hello.
audience.
All right.
Thanks for joining.
Excellent.
So I have to say, I've felt this way for a while, but I have to think Stoneface is making some of, if not the best beer in New Hampshire.
I'm leaning towards the best lately as I
Yeah.
have more of it, but I haven't had all the beers around. You're
Well,
a much better judge
Well,
that way.
and they're
Both of
pretty
you are.
diverse.
Well,
that-
the thing that I'm noticing as we've developed a partnership with them is I used to think of Stoneface as an IPA house, and I've been leaning against IPAs for a while based on your influence, and so I for a while I wasn't thinking of Stoneface because they were mostly IPAs, but that's not true at all. The more I've gotten to know them, the more we can see that there's a lot of other
They have a
diversity
wide
there.
range of beers and constantly changing. And we tried some of the sour beer that's going to go into the barrels that we brought over today that I'll tell you about in a moment. And it was just tremendous. It was just fantastic, all sorts of flavors. It reminded me quite a bit. Dan said, well, you might taste watermelon or watermelon rind. I don't know where it came from, but it's a really cool byproduct in the sour. And I got a little bit of like watermelon rind near like a retronasal taste to the beer. But what I was struck with right off the bat is it smelled and drank like a thin rosehip wine. So I'm like, this is like the rosehips that I harvest on the seacoast and turn into wine. You've got this in this beer that's going on. It was
great.
It was really wild.
So you were down there today with Ben for
Yep.
what reason?
So we coordinated with Dan, the brewer there, because about 6 months ago, I got contacted by Jamie, the head distiller at Tamworth Distilling, saying that he had taken some brandy, apple brandy, out of some barrels and wondered if we wanted those barrels. I was like, yes, please.
Of course we did.
Thank you. And I happen to
I'm
have
so excited about that
a
one.
whole bunch. Oh, wait till you taste it. It's on the tank downstairs. It's perfect. The blend turned out perfect.
Is there a tap on that tank?
There is. There's a lock on it also.
Oh, great.
So these, as far as I know, I sent Jamie a text earlier and I haven't heard back yet, but As far as I know, he had an apple brandy in these barrels for 4 years. And then took those out to get ready to package them. And I put the crabapple wine in it, and the crabapple wine is done. It's got plenty of the...
How long was in it for?
About, I think 5 months, 5 or 6 months. And it was plenty.
Has it been that long
Yeah,
since
it's
we got
amazing.
those barrels?
Yeah.
From 5 or 6 months?
I think so. It's really fast. It's the end of July right now. Did you know that?
Oh my goodness.
It's the middle of the summer, our summer range.
Did you get your ski pass yet?
Anyway, so when Dan was here for our Stoneface wine release, I told him about these barrels, that the wine was in there and I'm ready to take it out. Does he have any interest? And he's like, hell yeah, I would love to have those. So what I'm trying to do is to create this trilogy of moving barrels between Tamworth, Stoneface, and Hermit Woods Winery. So we have the top producers of really cool fermented beverages swapping barrels. It's
And
not
they're
easy
all-
to
and they're
swap
all
alcohol
different
without other
departments,
people
yeah.
getting involved, but swapping barrels is just throw them in a truck and bring them over.
And what more fun than covering the wine, beer, and spirits industry all in that project?
Right here. So
So-
2 of the barrels that came from Stoneface that we put our wines in went to Tamworth. So Tamworth has already received barrels that went there. And now Stoneface has got Tamworth barrels that have come through us and gone there.
And Tamworth is working on
And
that
you're working on a
collaboration
label,
with
right?
new labels for this newly released.
Because the
crab
wine
apple.
is ready.
Well, we're waiting on the labels, but they'll get here soon enough. So this all started, just for those of you who might not.
Yeah,
be
tell me
aware.
about how when Dan came into the shop here, when you first connected.
Well, as many of you may know, I used to do on a weekly basis our history presentation, and we called it the Loft Listening Room Experience.
Right here.
And we were doing that all winter. Now we do wine tours during that time. So if you want to come in for an actual tour, I'm delivering you a tour downstairs in the wine cellar along with you.
I'll be
And,
there.
You'll
I'll
be
be
there
there.
sharing wines as well out of the barrel or the tanks. But we'll resume the Loft Listening Room Experience in the fall. And but anyway, so I was putting on one of my history presentations, and there was Dan and his wife attending the presentation.
Ah, okay. I thought he had just come in for a tasting, but he did your whole thing.
He did the whole thing. So after the presentation, he came up to me and introduced himself, and I was really pleased to meet him. And he was really excited about the wines that he had tried, and it got him thinking, because it wasn't long after that he contacted us.
Yeah, you
and
put us in
suggested-
contact, and then
Yeah.
he came over and we sampled a bunch of barrels together, which was great. He brought a whole box of beer, you know, to show me what he makes.
So this all goes back to last year.
That was
Sometime
last
in the
year.
late summer, early fall was when this happened. And since then, you've collaborated with Stoneface, and they've made a beer in our barrels. We've made some wines in their barrels. Those wines are now released. They're available in the cellar, in the tasting room still. They're a limited supply, so if you're interested in those wines, you need to get to them soon. 'Cause
Yeah, we
they'll
have.
be out.
We put up a total, I think, 44 cases of each, and we have 30 some odd cases left.
Okay, so I figure you got a month or two if you want to make a decision on that. And I don't know if Stoneface has any beer left from that run, but they are selling a beer.
I
that
saw
came
some
out of
in
our
their
barrels.
tasting room today. They have a little bit left.
Good. So
We
you
have
better
just
get
a few
on that
bottles
quick.
of the Stoneface beers here.
And we still have a few
If you
here.
come and dine with us, there's just a few of each one that's left.
Which
So
are
you can order them at
fantastic.
the table.
You can.
Yeah, you can come in and get. You can come in here and get
That's a good deal.
a glass full of beer that was made in one of our barrels at Stoneface Brewery.
Yep. It's called the Amal.
That's really cool.
That's really cool.
And we tasted them
And they're
here on the
both
show a
very
few weeks
different.
ago.
They're both very different. Incredible flavor
Funky
profiles.
beers. Yeah.
Highly recommended.
That was what surprised me this past winter. I was sort of where you were, Bob, thinking that I knew the Stoneface IPA is kind of their flagship IPA that you see everywhere, and
Because it's
that's
delicious.
It is, well, it is delicious, but that's more what I was thinking of for Stoneface. And then they were here for pond hockey or fishing derby. They came and they did a tasting, and they had one of those. It wasn't the exact beer that we've got now, of course, but it was one of their sort of experimental funky sours, and it was really good. I was excited to see that they were doing that type of stuff.
And
too.
he's doing true sours. I mean, he's got 4 fooders there, that he's fermenting in and never fully draining. So everything is carrying
So
over.
the sour bacteria.
The sour bacteria
carries
is,
forth.
in fact, he's never drained the thing. Ben and I were asking, like, how much like dead yeast is in the bottom of there? He says, I don't know. I've never opened it up. I don't know. I take a wine out. I put it 5 years. He said the same yeast in the fooder for 5 years.
So he's not inoculating that beer. He's just
No,
putting it into the
never.
fooder.
He's taking one out, packaging it up, and pumping another one in, letting it ferment.
I like the sounds of that.
So cool. It's
It's
so
got the
cool.
same feel as like when people talk about their sourdough that they've had running for years and years, and they
It's like
inherited it
a
from this
sourdough
person.
starter. It's like kombucha.
carries through, yeah.
Maya's got, she makes kombucha all the time, and so she's got these mothers floating in these jars always at her house, and there's always stuff in the
Continuous.
fridge.
You have
Right.
to feed it to keep it happy.
Yep.
And like, yeah,
That's
those
really,
barrels, you
but
gotta feed
but
them-
he's
feed the
doing
barrels
so
beer to keep them happy.
many unique beers, so many great styles of stuff. And he said, they're known for their flagships, for their IPAs, but he said now we have some of these sideline stuff that I've done that have become so popular, we're starting to distribute those.
And they distribute all over New England,
Yeah.
and maybe further. Pennsylvania, New
They
York.
do 12 or 13,000 barrels a year.
That's pretty big.
A lot of beer
Yeah.
for a craft brewery.
Probably the largest in New Hampshire,
I'm sure it is.
next to maybe Smutty Nose.
Yeah.
It's probably up there
Probably
with.
look that up.
Yeah, you definitely
If
could
the,
look that up,
the
yeah.
state tracks the total number of barrels that's done because they tax
Yeah.
the producer on that. Anyway, so today we brought those barrels down to him, and he's going to put this really cool rose hip tasting sour into those barrels, and we'll see what comes of it.
It's great. You're going to get some more barrels from him eventually?
So I was so excited about the results of the Stoneface barrel on our Petit Blue Reserve and our Red Scare, especially the bourbon sugar maple stave barrels. He said, "Oh, Ken, well, I don't know timing-wise, but I'll see what I can do." And he went right back after he was here. By that night, he was texting me. He says, "I've lined up these barrels. I'm going to get them in here. I'm going to put a beer through them. They should be ready for you in December, if that's not too late." I said, "That sounds great. Awesome." So he's already purchased the barrels.
The maple barrels?
Yep.
The ones
New
with
ones.
sugar oozing out
New
the
ones with
side?
The sugar oozing out the side. So he got more of those, and he's going to put, what I want to do is I want to do a straight 3 honey in one of those barrels. I think it's going to be beautiful. I think it's really going to show all the nuances. I'll do more Red Scare, but I really want to do that as well.
The Red Scare did turn out really great, but
Yeah.
I'm excited for something new at the same time. Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't want you to do the same thing over and over.
No.
Well, sometimes
No.
we do.
Well, because you make really good things, and we want those good things to last. But
That's right.
So I'm glad you're making Red Scare again, and I'm glad you're trying something new at the same time.
Yeah.
So, just a brief break. I realized we're sitting here noshing on this great food, and I always like
Yeah,
to,
you could
to
do a shout out. For all
shout
this, 'cause
out
it's almost
to
gone.
this food. Actually, comes from our eatery. It's all farm to table, local cheese producers, local meat producers, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire.
I did slightly different things than I would put on because I knew we were drinking beer, so I feel like we can do. There's different stuff I would put on for beer.
Yeah.
See, we got this one. This is a new. This is
The-
the
oh, I
dill
love this.
stuff.
This is
It's-
New Hampshire made, right?
Yeah. It's
Is that the
Bell and
aged
Goose.
Gouda?
It's
It's a Bell and
They call it like butter cheese, but it's Havarti like with a dill. It's from Bell and Goose, which I think is that the one in Northfield? It's definitely New Hampshire,
Southern New Hampshire, I think.
but it's it's one we've started to be able to get from through Beans and Greens Farm. Brisket deliver that for us sometimes, and he gets he can give us small packages we can sell retail, but also a big full wheel of it, which is
That's handy
great,
when
yeah.
we're using
Right,
it in the
right.
food. So as much as possible, all the food that we have in our deli, in the deli freezer or refrigerator for purchase to take home, we try and use that in the food that we serve here.
Thanks, you
at the
guys. Have a
tables.
good night.
Good night, folks. So yeah, if you want to enjoy some of these cheeses and meats, come in anytime. We offer them on our charcuterie plate all perfect time.
Is Gary in our audience this evening? Who's out
I
there?
haven't seen Gary yet. Christine is tuned in.
Awesome. Hi, guys.
Matt is here.
Hi,
Matt
guys.
is drinking 2018 Hermitage with some Bloc de Foie Gras de Canard.
Which Hermitage?
2018. That's what we've got right now. Karen is on drinking some bourbon barrel-aged Cabernet.
Uh-huh.
So that's
There
another
you
kind
go.
of fun thing.
Where's that from?
So Karen, where Cabernet is that? Because that's a different thing. Well, you see oak barrel-aged. Or generally-
Mondavi does a bourbon barrel age Cabernet.
We saw Gary and Paula this weekend. They're in.
That's all the drinking comments we've gotten so far. Oh, it's Nighthawk, the Boda box.
Oh.
I've seen that box. It's as box wines go, especially. It's a really pretty, like starry, dark box. I've wanted to buy it. It's good marketing. I want to buy it just because of the box. But it's the Boda box Nighthawk.
Cool.
The Boda box. It's like a fancy wine in a box thing.
You know, there's nothing wrong with wine in a box.
No, or in a Boda bag. Red Scare in a Boda bag? Let me
It's a
just
bag
tell you,
box.
there is something really good about that.
What I always tell people is, if you experiment, find wines in different containers that make sense. A lot of the small craft wineries are starting to bag wines. Bagged wines are basically box wines, just smaller
Box wine is
sizes.
usually a bag inside of a box.
Exactly. A box wine is a bag wine. So yeah,
necessarily.
find a package that works. If you could find a wine that's priced right and tastes good, more power to you.
I got one right here.
Especially, my mom tends to buy the boxes a lot because she's home alone and likes to have a glass of wine every night, but
And the box lasts.
the box will last. So she
You can last for 30 days with a box of wine because there's no air introduced when you open it up.
Because the bag collapses
yeah, that's great.
inside the box.
And environmentally, it has some pluses too. It's plastic, so it's always a give and take. There's
Yep.
no easy answer or clean answer for any of these solutions, but not having a box has 5 bottles of wine. What's the environmental impact of that plastic bag
compared to
versus
glass?
5 glasses? Yeah, it's exactly. So
Glass is very,
very heavy.
very inefficient.
And most glass doesn't get recycled, so it ends up in a bin, in a trash heap somewhere. So
I sure hope this is okay.
yeah, me too. So we've covered the beer,
Yes.
Stoneface. So the next thing I want to talk about, which as you're opening that, I'm thinking about this really exciting opportunity that we got.
That's
a
where we
chance.
were going to be drinking this.
We were going to be drinking that in 2 weeks or a week and a half. Actually, a
But-
week. It's a week from tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and in fact, next Monday show
road?
is going to be the eve before we do our big wine event on Tuesday.
We might just have our camp talk.
We
that
might
night.
have a camp issue
Yeah.
again.
Right.
We'll see. Stay tuned. We're working on that.
We won't
Technology.
promise anything yet.
Yeah. So about a month ago, Carlos DeVito, Carlo, not Carlos, Carlo DeVito. We've mentioned him many times. He's been here
guy.
many times. We've posted with him, about him, and involved him in our winery for he's been involved in our winery for many years. We see him every year, a couple times at the Eastern Winery Expo. We visited the winery where he works at. Carlo's all over the place. He's one of the. He just wrote a book we're in.
Another book.
East Coast
Well,
Winery.
the East Coast Wineries, which we're represented
Which I'm
in.
linking in the comments.
And so he's become a really good friend of ours and of our winery. And out of the blue, a gentleman emailed me and said that Carlo had suggested that this gentleman reach out to us because he's putting on what is, I believe, to be a rather prestigious opportunity for some of the best winemakers across the
Eastern
northeast or the eastern seaboard.
Yeah, it actually seems a little bit more heavily and focused in the Central East.
Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia.
North Carolina, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Finger Lakes, that sort of core area. Not too much.
Well, those are the core
reaching
winemaking
out.
regions
Oh, I
in
know.
this part
They're
of the
big-
world,
they're
aren't
the big
they?
Producers, yeah.
So it's good. He was looking to break out, and Carlo recommended that he contact us. And
Which is awesome, because this, you know, as you all know, we don't make wine out of grapes, so it's not like a standard thing. This round table is to get winemakers together on the Eastern Seaboard to talk about the challenges that they face in trying to make superlative wine, and how do they do that in the vineyard, how do they do that in the cellar. And each winemaker is bringing 2 wines, a light wine, a white or a rosé or bubbly for the morning, and a red or heavier wine for the afternoon. And so we're going to sample 12 wines starting at 10 a.m. And each person that created that wine is going to talk about how they produced it. I had a questionnaire that I filled out for both the wines we're bringing to submit. So everybody will have the information. The pH, the TA, the techniques of putting it together, and all this sort of stuff.
And you're going to be the only producer there with a wine that's not made from grapes.
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
That's a little mind-blowing. And you know what's
It's gonna
really,
be really wild.
you know what really is interesting to me? I remember the first time you were going to another prestigious wine opportunity in New York City, where we were going to be pairing our wines with this rather fancy dinner.
Do you know how nervous I was?
I do.
Matt?
I do.
was very nervous.
And
I'm not as nervous anymore.
I have not sensed any nervousness. You haven't even mentioned it.
Yeah, I feel just.
That was 4 or 5 years ago, and you were,
10
I mean,
years
you
ago.
were literally scared to death to
was
bring this.
2012.
I know.
2013.
It was like 2 years in
Yeah.
to this thing. I sympathize with why you might have been a little bit nervous.
I was a little nervous.
But here you
You're
are.
the one like, Ken, we got to do this. Let's just go and see where it goes. And that's
How
where we
did it
met Ray
go?
Isles. That's where we met the wine editor for Food and Wine magazine. Was there.
And we
Is
since
that why we
were
got featured?
considered the top 500 wineries in America. We've had one of your wines presented as the best craft beverage in New Hampshire.
From
It
that
was
magazine.
Yeah,
right?
from the magazine. So here you are.
Yeah.
You're going to go down and be in a room with some of what is believed to be the top wine producers in the East Coast and sharing the only wine not made from grapes with all of these wine connoisseurs. And there's going to be others there. Richard Leahy's going to be there. Richard Leahy has made a name for himself
You know why I'm
down in
not nervous?
Virginia.
Try this.
I'm still finishing my beer. I feel like I should
Try this.
finish the beer.
I'll
first,
finish
but
it for you if you want.
After your double IPA, I don't know, Bob. I guess he just
We're hanging
wants
on
it.
all right.
I've got to drive home.
I'm twice your size.
No, it's really, I'm so excited to go. It's really an opportunity to, you know, compare notes, to swap stories and ideas with other winemakers. And I always learn from going to these things. And I assume the other winemakers go to these because they learn as well. They go through this process. So it's really a great opportunity. The reason we're drinking this wine now, instead of in Maryland a week from now,
Because this wine was intended to be drank in Maryland.
we shipped this out last Monday.
Yes, why is it here?
I pulled out.
We shipped this
found
last Monday.
I
We
found
shipped
the
it last
tracking
Monday.
information. Pulled it up.
Oh, you did?
Yep. So we shipped it. Got picked up. Oh
Here.
yeah. It has all the details. You know, has label created, UPS picked up, origin scan in Northfield, New Hampshire. Made, you know, went from New Hampshire to Massachusetts, a facility in Middletown, Pennsylvania, and then a facility in York, Pennsylvania. So it got close.
Got to a couple different
Very
places
close.
in
Really
Pennsylvania.
close. So on 7/19 at 4:58 a.m., it arrived in York, Pennsylvania. By 9 a.m., it was reported as damaged.
Was there a car accident in York, Pennsylvania?
Was there a forklift accident? Was there a rogue UPS worker that saw wine and was
Right.
excited and
Right.
dropped it?
Well,
Accidents
knows?
happen.
accidents happen.
Accidents happen.
Yeah,
And-
I've dropped bottles of wine.
And we've got a very sad notice on Wednesday or Thursday that our package had not made it to the intended destination and it was damaged.
Sure
and
was.
Destroyed, potentially.
Yeah, and then
So we were like, oh
And then we
my
never know. So
goodness.
we-
These are
we-
wines that we pulled out of our library.
They're rare wines.
Yeah.
These
Not
were
that many
special
left.
wines that were going down. And
so we actually, I reached out to Vino Shipper, which is our sort of third party. They take care of the sort of shipping regulations and fees and things for us. They organize all that and generate the labels. And I reached out to them and said, oh, well, it will be shipped back to you if there's anything left. we weren't sure what
Yeah,
that
so
meant.
yesterday, or day before yesterday,
Did
we
make
were
it back?
here and UPS showed up. It was Saturday.
Yes, Saturday.
The tasting room was buzzing with people, and here he comes with all of his deliveries for us, and one is a massive box.
With a dent in the corner.
Sounds like a Christmas ornament mayhem inside. He sets it down, and it feels like maybe it's leaking, it's wet, we better take this downstairs. So we carried it downstairs, and the original box, which is the sturdiest wine shipping box I've ever seen, that we get our wines from Garage East.
It is
in
by far
Seattle.
one of the best packages I've ever seen.
We get cases of wine sent from Seattle to us here, not actually here, but to our homes. And these, I've also used these boxes as check-on to bring wine out to my son in Seattle and to bring wine back
so
from Garage
solid.
East.
Like, I think what we
They're
use for our
sturdy
shipping is
boxes.
they're good boxes, but
Yeah.
the Garage East ones are
Or even a little better.
really
Yeah.
they're so solid.
So somehow that box got damaged in a bad way.
Severely
and they put it
damaged.
inside a couple of plastic bags and threw it inside a bigger box and said, "Here, we returned
You
it
can
to
have
you."
it back.
Well, some of the wines bottles didn't break,
Look at the back of the labels there. You
but
can see what
they got
little mangled.
So we don't really know. This opens up the bigger discussion here, really, about the fragility of wine. It's a live beverage. It's like milk or cheese or some other thing that you're going to want to transport and take care of. Beer's the same way. You don't want to throw your six-pack in the trunk, let it get up to 130 degrees in some
no.
parking lot, and then throw it in a bucket of ice to chill it way down, and then pop the top and think it's going to be fine.
Or throw it in your trunk and then drive down a dirt road at 60 miles an hour doing fishtails on the corners. Oh, I don't need to be about that.
Oh, you were saying you. When you put it in your trunk and you drive down the road doing fishtails.
Right.
We're staying on subject.
Because a UPS truck would never do that.
Right. So I was concerned that these wines have been tossed about, thrashed about. And the reason we were shipping them down last week is so they would have a week or two to recover from the journey. When we receive a case of wine from Garage East in Seattle, there's a big notice inside. Your wines have just made a long journey to get to your place. Please let them recover for a couple of weeks. Put them in your cellar, don't open them up. We know you're excited to try them, but you shouldn't try them now. You need to let them recover. So that's why I sent them a couple weeks early. But now we've sent a new box today, and hopefully it gets there. If not, we'll know by Wednesday or Thursday if it's in York, Pennsylvania, and somehow at 9:58 p.m. it doesn't make it again. And then we'll carry it down on our motorcycles.
Does UPS use the BDR?
I don't think so. Some might
Well,
in
and
Vermont.
there's a risk too. In summer, you've got the heat, so if
Well,
you,
I hate shipping wine in the summertime.
you worry if it's going to sit too long, if it gets stuck on a truck somewhere or in a big warehouse, it's
Garage
gonna be
East
hot.
won't ship. They only ship twice a year.
And that's
In
why
this- they
our,
ship in the spring and they ship in the fall.
and that's why our
That's
club
why
does
we
the
do
same
our
thing.
clubs.
Yeah, our club is in April and October, so we know it's not going to be as much in danger of.
It
sitting
still
in the
works. I mean, people ship, and shipping facilities now are better prepared for that. They're not letting stuff sit out on a hot loading dock in the sun. They're moving things along pretty well.
Nonetheless,
UPS does move. They move pretty quickly. It's
Yeah.
impressive to me. You know, we're shipping a wine to Massachusetts. They pick it up on Monday. It's out for delivery on Tuesday.
Yeah.
A lot of time. So
Nonetheless, if you're shipping to the southern part of the states right now, and a wine has to be on a truck for an hour, it's 110 degrees.
I don't think the back is air conditioned. I
No.
don't even know if the front is air conditioned.
Right.
Aren't they going extra?
I don't know. I haven't seen a Texas UPS truck, so I don't know. But I hope they are, for the
Hope
sake
so
of
too,
the
yeah.
UPS drivers who have to get in and out of that thing all the time. But that is really a good point if you're shipping wine. And we actually do the same thing. If the conditions are really poor, or if we notice that a shipment's going to a much warmer part of the country,
Right.
we will give notice to the customer that this is at your own peril if we ship it right
Yeah.
now.
wait a little bit.
Yeah, wait till the temperature cools a bit. And so, because ideally, wine should be shipped in this country. If you're looking at national shipping, you ship in the spring and the fall. In the spring and the fall, temperatures are moderate enough across the country, not too cold and not too warm.
Go for the equinoxes, not the solstice times.
I feel like
Right.
the heat I would expect would affect a wine worse than the cold.
Cold's
but
bad
the cold
too.
could be bad too.
Yeah.
Well, cold only if freezing.
Yeah, or it gets real cold real fast. If you just
Sudden changes in
crash it.
environment, yeah.
Which isn't likely to happen in
Which is
a
not very
transportation
likely.
situation.
Right.
You're not crashing it, you're just moving.
It's more common to have heat damage
Yeah.
to wines and beer and cheese and other things.
Yeah.
Any
But obviously,
perishables.
if it's out in a truck for an hour in sub-freezing weather, that's
and the
risky
cardboard's
too.
a good insulator,
Yeah.
so it does really impede that from happening. But I'm happy to say that Red Scare is built like a tank because it's drinking fine.
Well, and also happy to say 10 of the 12 wines that were in that box were intact.
Yep.
The bottles weren't broken.
Right. Only 2 bottles broke in that
Which
crash.
2 bottles did we lose? Do you know?
We lost a Lake House White and a Hermitage.
Were they library ones or were they?
No.
That was one
So
lottery.
we
a
saved,
little
this is a Library 2017 Red Scare that we're drinking. That's a 2017 PBR. We have a 2013 DBR, Deep Blue Reserve.
bit. Glad we
That
didn't
came
lose
back. And a 2017 Hermitage came back.
So what do you think? Does this wine taste like it's been damaged in transportation?
No,
Just a little bit of aesthetic damage on the label.
it's fine. It's exactly how I remember the 17.
Good.
And I like,
It has had a few days to rest.
it has. Yeah.
We had the same issue a few weeks ago. We had the same thing happen. We had someone that came up. They were visiting for Bike Week, and this guy, he loved our wine and fell off. He ordered a full case of the heirloom crabapple to have him to send down to North Carolina or South Carolina. It was South Carolina, and it made it to North Carolina. And then something happened in North Carolina, and it came back to us.
Oh.
It wasn't a box in a box. It was just our box, but it was all. You should have. I might have a picture of it that I should share. It was all
Mangled.
squooshed and tape all over it.
But nothing broken.
No, there were two broken bottles
Oh.
inside of it. I think 2 bottles had broken, but they hadn't like done anything with it. They
That's
hadn't,
how we got this case
reboxed
back.
it.
They
The
just
broken
threw it.
bottles were in there with dripping.
That's
heirloom
what happened
crab
here.
apple.
Yeah.
So it was all soggy, and of
This
course
is-
ruining the box.
Yeah, this is
making it
mostly
even worse.
trash from broken glass and wine from the other bottles.
Which is interesting because you think if it's already damaged and they're trying to salvage what's left, sending a soggy box seems like maybe
Yeah.
not the most.
That's
Logical
2
thing.
times in a week.
This was a little. It was post bike, but yeah, it was
Couple weeks.
within the past month. Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember 2 times
Well, we ship more.
in years.
We ship more, and they're handling a lot more packages now than they did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
the
happening.
volume of stuff that's moving around the planet, I
I know I
I'm
get
just
a
so
few
impressed.
packages at my house.
Oh, well, the funniest thing that I think has ever happened is I don't know if they don't always send it back to us. Sometimes it's damaged, it's lost, and nothing happens. We had one this past winter that came back to us. I think it was a 4-bottle shipment. It was trying to go out to the far west coast, and something got damaged. It came back to us. 2 of our bottles, and then a 3rd bottle.
Oh, you told me about this.
That was not one of our bottles. Somehow a different wine ended up.
That was pretty special.
That was different.
Did we
That's
drink that
pretty-
wine? Do we know what it was?
It was a Cabernet, California Cabernet.
What happened to it?
I shared
Did
it
we
with
try
Travis
it?
and
You
Steph.
drank it? I don't know. I didn't have any.
Travis and Steph and I shared it at one point.
Good.
So
It was just interesting. You just,
I thought this
wonder
would be a
sometimes.
good opportunity to talk about just traveling with wine in general. First of all, a couple things that we could say. If you're planning on shipping wine yourself, be very cautious because it is not legal for the average consumer to ship wine. First of all, you cannot ship wine via the United States Postal Service. And UPS has some pretty strict rules, and in most states you cannot ship wine via UPS. And maybe in all states, I don't really know.
Really?
But you should check with your UPS office before you try and package wine, because it is it's generally illegal. We have commercial licenses, which is what we have, or Vino Shipper has, so that we have
So we can do it legally.
a special permit with UPS so that we can. But the average consumer can't ship wine. So if you're doing it, you should be aware of that. And
And even we have a lot of rules around it. You know, when we ship wine, we can ship it, but in order to receive the package, somebody that's over 21 has to sign
Right.
for the package. They won't just leave
Right.
it for you, which can be a real headache for us shipping. You know, if we ship it to someone but they're not home, they're at work, they miss UPS, and if you miss UPS enough times, they ship it back to us, and you have to pay for shipping again.
so the best way to handle shipping wine to friends and family is to go through the producer and have the producer make the shipment for you. So you don't have to deal with all of that and take the risk that you're going to be shipping wine illegally.
And you can schedule shipping and delay it. You know, if people are buying wine here in the shop, I'll check with them. You know, if they're on vacation here and they're saying, "Oh, I want to order this wine to ship out to Wisconsin," it's like, "Are you here for the next week? Do you want me to ship this tomorrow, or do you want me to hold it for a week and then ship it so you're actually going to be home?"
So
that.
the other thing is traveling with wine, and this is an interesting topic. You know, a lot of people wonder what are the rules about that. And interestingly enough, the airlines are more than happy to ship your wine for you. If you're going to be bringing, of course, don't plan on carrying it on the carry-on. We still have the
That's a check it
3-ounce
on.
rule.
Right.
So it has to be checked.
Yep.
And not only does it have to be checked, it has to be packaged in one of these boxes that are certified to be shipped.
That's why I bring wine back from Garage East in Seattle.
Right. So
I check it on the airline. On
And
Delta.
and you also do what I often do. If you're traveling to a place where you know you're going to be buying wine, bring a box
That's what I
of
do.
wine to that place.
Right.
And enjoy the wine, drink it yourself, or share it with, you know, sometimes we'll share it with the wineries that we visit when
Yep.
we're out, when we're traveling. And then we have an empty package box to bring it back.
It was fun in South Africa trying to find a place where we could buy boxes.
Not easy, right?
We drove a whole way
Hundreds of
around
miles.
to get to a place where we could buy boxes.
And we spent a couple hours there
wine in, I remember
buying the
that.
boxes and getting them
Oh,
all
did you
packaged.
see the South African Chenin Blanc that came up on Garage East? That was my weak point right there.
I did
When
not.
that happened. Well, I got a couple bottles, so I can try one.
Yes, I've had to be very careful there. So, so yes, you can travel with wine. You can bring wine on an airplane as long as it's in a certified package that's intended for delivering wine. And you can bring wine from other countries. This is another thing that's very, or even obviously across this country, but if you're traveling to Canada, a lot of people think that the restrictions at the border, they always say you can always carry 2 liters of wine or
Right.
2 liters of alcohol. What they mean is 2 liters of spirits. You can actually bring, coming back from Canada, you can legally bring two cases
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
of wine.
Yeah.
You have to declare it. Don't try and sneak it in. You got to let the border guards, and the border guards they have the right to charge you an extra tax. It's nominal, but they have the right to. They often don't. They don't want to be
Especially
tax
if you
collectors at the
tell them
border.
up front.
Yeah. So you can bring 2 cases, and that's the same with coming into the U.S. from any country. If you travel to France, you want to bring a couple cases back, you can bring a couple cases back. Just make sure you're on the up and up and you declare it at the airport. And again, they can charge you a import tax, but they likely won't. The Border Patrol people don't want to be tax collectors. So, and as far as taking wine, I'm assuming there are some varying laws depending on which country you're going to. So if we were going to travel to Europe,
Right.
and we were to bring a case of wine, I would suggest you check with the country that you're bringing
Probably
the case
matters
to.
more where you're going versus where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind the same rules, heat and cold. So if you're traveling in the winter and you're transporting on the plane, it's going to be in the belly of the plane. That's an interesting variable.
Most of it's temperature controlled on a plane.
Okay, cargo.
Cargo.
Yeah,
Cargo's
It
pretty
used to
because
not
at
be-
30,000
it used to
feet,
not
it'd be
Don't
frozen.
people ship their pets?
In the cargo?
Yeah, they go in
I
the
think
cargo.
so.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
depends. I watched a great, I feel like I mentioned this at another show, that there's a really great Netflix series by William Shatner it's called The Unexplained, and it's all these cool, like, various supernatural things and stuff. And one of the last ones, it was talking about various sort of like near-death experiences, and it was talking about one guy that was trying to escape, I think like a war-torn South American country or something, and he stowed away. He jumped up into the wheel well of a plane.
Oh yes, I
And-
saw that on the news.
And it was a while ago.
Wow.
I think it wasn't a recent.
10 years ago or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like that.
and he made it to the U.S., but had come close to freezing to death, but somehow had sort of entered like a state of hibernation in a way. Somehow, like, had sort of frozen in place and was able to be thawed out and was fine. But that was definitely not temperature controlled in the wheel well. But that's not the cargo belt.
So note to self: don't travel in the wheel well
No,
of
not generally
a
very
commercial
comfortable.
airplane.
Yeah.
No, not the best.
Full scale jet airline.
Anything else about transporting wine that would be relevant?
I think those
Does
are the key
the
things.
pressure change mess with things? That's what I worry. I've
Probably.
just wrapped up things in my suitcase,
It
but
must, but I know that it used to be years ago that the cargo was not pressurized as well or temperature controlled as well. And we used to have, lotion bottles that would explode or things that would get frozen. But for the last couple of decades, I think that's all been taken care of. Chuck would know about this.
Yeah,
We could
it
ask
seems
him.
kind of obvious. I mean, people
Yeah.
carry stuff in their suitcases.
Yeah, you can't think, well, should I put this on my carry-on? It might freeze to death,
So that's an interesting point, because I have been carrying wine. Oftentimes I'll buy 2 or 3 bottles in a region, and I don't want to take the time to find a specialty box.
Yeah, I just wrap them up in my dirty clothes.
Roll them
throw
up
my
in the
bag
T-shirts
wrap
and
'em. Well, I
whatever.
put them in
but
a
I've always
trash
been
bag
scared.
in case they leak.
It's like I don't want to do like a soda or something that's sort of already kind of pressurized.
I don't know why
Yeah.
you'd bring soda in your suitcase. You can buy it everywhere.
I know. We had the consideration last time we were in Florida. I think Steve found a special deal for, like, it was super cheap to buy like a full case of something, but we didn't finish it, and it felt wrong to leave it that much. It's not like it was that expensive, but it still felt. There was a lot more than we wanted to leave.
We got this,
Yeah,
this
we
case
got it
of
now.
Coke. It's such a great
right.
deal. We got to bring it back. I've been there.
I was gonna say, you're as frugal as I am.
mean,
Bob.
we
You
used to-
save everything.
We used to grab the wine out of the hose and save every
I know.
bottle of that, every ounce.
Rose wine.
We didn't drink a lot of that hose wine, though.
No, we didn't. It wasn't that good.
Because, we had other stuff that we could drink that tasted a lot better.
Well, that's actually, I wanted to mention this as part of this discussion, that you have your fun fact all the time, Bob, that, X percent of wine is drunk within X miles.
50 miles.
or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's sort of the idea. Yes, if you go on vacation, you find wonderful wine, it's great to bring it back and share it with the people back home, but it's also the best wine is sometimes right down the road.
Yeah.
And dealing with the transport and all of that is going to
Well,
mess
that's
with the
ideal.
wine.
That's
we
the
talked
ideal
about this
situation.
too. In what you can get in the liquor store for French wine
Right.
is
Oh.
nowhere near what you could get if you were actually in France.
Right.
Which is why you go to France and bring it back.
Oh, that's true. That's
Or
a good
just
point.
go there and drink wine.
I mean,
But
yes.
that's partly because of the,
think
it's
about
because
it.
of the travel issues. Yeah.
If you, as you said, the best wines are within 50 miles of where you live, also means you have a very, very limited selection of wines, unless you live in central France or central Italy. So
That's
for someone
because
living
those,
in,
those small producers can't,
well, there just
do-
aren't
they-
that many
they aren't-
small
yeah,
producers
they
in
can't
most
ship
parts
as
of the
well,
world.
yeah.
So for wine enthusiasts or wine collectors, that's why we travel to wine regions, because we know
Right.
we can go there and grab bottles of wine that we're not going to be able to get anywhere else. They're not going to ever be able to come to our part of the world. So we got to pick them up, put them in a box, and fly with them home.
Fly with them home.
take care of them ourselves.
Like we went to Switzerland and we
Right. Right.
purchased
See,
wines
why
that
have, Why have
probably
we not done a show on Swiss or South African wine?
Well, you can't get...
We did.
We did,
We
we
did
have done
South Africa.
African, but
Oh, I
not,
missed that
but
one.
not Swiss.
That was pre Marika as moderator.
It could have
I
been.
missed that one.
Yeah. Sure it was. It was in the...
early days.
Early
we
part
were
of
just fresh out
pandemic.
of South Africa
Yeah.
when the pandemic started.
Yeah, we reached out to Craig and had him on it and to do the timing, right? Because it was either 6 hours ahead of us or something. so it was 11:30 at night
Right,
for him.
right. We did a show
Oh,
with
we
Craig and with the other gentleman from Roman Hope. I never can pronounce their names. Their Dutch
I
names.
think I remember watching that show.
One was Stony Brook, and I think that was Craig, right?
Yeah.
And then Roma.
Oh, yes.
Well, I don't remember his name, but we did a show with him. It's in the archives.
Yeah.
It's back in probably April or May of 2020.
Of 20, yeah.
It was a great conversation. And then we had one or both of them on a conversation which was sort of a round table.
Oh, and we
Of-
got Ken out of Vermont.
Yeah, from not Ken and his winemaker from
Yeah. Paul?
Sheraton. What was that? What is that?
Shelburne?
Shelburne.
Shelburne.
Shelburne Winery.
Shelburne Vineyards.
Yep.
Been there. That was, oh yeah. That was one
Shelburne
of the first
Vineyard.
spots.
They have great old geologic terms like Iapetus and things
Yes.
for their
Oh,
wines.
I've got some of that at home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
That's
then-
They
really
make
nice.
some great
Sap House
wine.
Meadery was on the
Yeah.
call.
And Sap House is there.
And South African winemakers.
Yep.
That was a
Should
cool
go back and
experience.
watch that. We went to Shelburne last fall as part of our Vermont wine trip. And
They make
did
some
really
great
good
wines.
wine.
They would definitely be someone to have at this round table at some point. I mean, we reached out. We tried to get stuff like this going too. It'd be nice to compare notes and work. The beer world is good at that. In concentrated wine regions like Phil tells us about in the Finger Lakes, a lot of wineries will get together and talk about wine and wine production and help each other. But we're so young in New England that doesn't happen yet. We're not all getting together and talking about
We'll keep working on it.
how we're dealing with
Yeah.
our grapes.
We tried
or
to
our
we tried to get
winemaking.
something started a few years ago.
Yeah.
It just
Because there is
wasn't
a
the
New
right
Hampshire
time.
Winery Association, but it's
It's hard. Everybody's
Yeah.
doing the best they can at
Everybody's busy.
everything and
hard to do.
trying to make it all happen.
But yeah, great conversations when you can get together with people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that concludes our topics for today's conversation.
I'm looking forward to hearing a report from this visit.
From the feedback from
Yeah.
next Tuesday?
It's going to be
Interesting
exciting.
to
So
see, yeah.
we'll put some social media together about this. We're going to be down there with Richard Leahy, with Joe Fiola.
You could
who's-
probably grow live from the place.
Yeah, probably. Might
Well, I'm talking about Hermitage or
be. Yeah,
something.
that's right. I'm not going to have anything to do. I'll
Yeah,
just
you're
sit and
just there
watch.
drinking,
Yeah.
marketing, having fun.
So stay tuned
Yeah.
for next week. We might have a special show with you. We're going to try and pull off the campfire talk again next week if we can. And
We're going to be camping for sure.
we'll do some live stuff from the show, from the event on. It's August 1st from 9 to
August
3.
1st. Yep.
So you might see us sometime around there, and then we'll be traveling to and fro from Sunday to Thursday, and
That's going to be rough.
that's going to be tough. Yeah, I have to make that whole ride on motorcycles.
Have to.
Yeah. Tough.
The only way.
Tough.
So we have another show that we just talked about early that's coming up. We're going to broadcast from the Mount Washington sometime later this month.
Very excited.
I'm excited about
Yeah.
that.
They have some of our wines on the boat.
Yeah.
We have a wine dinner with them.
We do, I know.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be later in August. And we possibly will have a conversation with the new wine shop in Meredith. I say
Carlin's.
new, but they've been
Yep.
here a year, Carlin's.
Yep.
That's coming up probably in September. Yep.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Good stuff coming. And come visit.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Yeah, we hope to see you here at the winery sometime soon.
Yes.
And if not, please join us live every Monday at 5:30. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
all. Yeah, next time I got to talk about